Thank you and welcome to another session of live streaming and broadcast on OY Media Scotland. Just like we've mentioned earlier, we'll be running the programs on this channel on both Saturday and Sunday. On Saturdays, we'll be right on to Itan Yoruba by Lady IBK Sanusi. And after that, we'll also be holding the one for Lola's reality show. The Lola's reality show will be coming first, and after that, the Itan Yoruba, and that is the reading of Dio Fagunwa's Ogbojo Deninu Igbo Irumale will follow shortly after that. And on Sundays, like today, we'll have the new session of Itan Yoruba. So the one on Saturday will be a repeat. So on Sundays, we'll have the one for the week, and it will be repeated on Saturday. And after that, which that will be coming up at 5:45. Apologies for the earlier information. So it's 5:45 on Sundays for 15 minutes. And then after that, there will be news highlights. And then at 6:15, we'll have our consciousness for our guests. And of course, alternate Sundays will also be having our guest from Yoruba Referendum Committee. So for this week, we'll be having a guest in the person of Prince Olusegun Oni. And next week, we'll be back with Yoruba Referendum Committee, and that is with Mr. Femi Odediyi. But for today, we start kicking off with Itan Yoruba, and which will be repeated on Saturday. So please do stay on with us.
Ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin, obìnrin, ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín Ìbùkún Olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n, òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá kò mọ̀ ní parun.
Mo kí wa kú pọ̀pọ̀ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ọdún o. Ṣé ọdún lọ tó ń dùn? Ṣàtìpẹ̀ràn, ṣàtìpàdìyẹ, ṣàtìṣèrẹsì. Tèmi ń kọ́. Àkú ọdún Kérésìmesì. Ọdún tuntun tó dẹ̀ ń bọ̀ lọ́nà yìí. Abàwáláyé wa. Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá, à ń bá ìtàn àkàrà ògùn ògbójú ọdẹ nínú igbó Irúnmọlẹ̀ bọ̀. A ti sọ bí wọn àtàwọn òbí ẹ̀ ṣe rìn, bó náà ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìrìn àjò ẹ̀ lọ sínú igbó Irúnmọlẹ̀ ní ìgbà ìkíní àti àwọn ohun tó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní bá pàdé. Ó ti bá àwọn iwin lóríṣiríṣi pàdé. Ìrìn àjò ẹ̀ náà sì ṣe kìnnì ó ń tẹ̀síwájú. Láti ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá, a sọ bí iwin kan ṣe fún un ní àtàrẹ tó jẹ́ òògùn àmúbìnà. A ó máa tẹ̀síwájú. Bí ó ti fún mi ní òògùn náà tán, ló bá ọ̀nà tirẹ̀ lọ. Èmi náà sì kọ ojú sínú igbó, mò ń wá ẹran kiri. Bí mo ti rìn díẹ̀ tí àwọn ẹranko ṣáà ń kọjá lójú mi, tí mo sì ń wá àyè àti yìnbọn mọ́ wọn, ni mo tún rí ọkùnrin kúkúrú kan báyìí tó ń lé ẹran lọ. Ọkùnrin náà kò tilẹ̀ ga tó èyí tí mo kọ́ rí lẹ́ẹ̀kan. Gbogbo ara rẹ̀ dúdú fàfà. Inú bá tún bí mi. Mo sọ̀rọ̀ sí yánnayànna. Mo wí pé, ìkà ni yín ẹ̀yin wìn. Tẹ́ ń bá rẹ́wúrẹ́wú kiri. Ẹran ẹ kò ní pa. Ẹ̀sùn ní sí ń jẹ́ kí ẹni tí ò bá pa ó pa. Nígbà tí mo bu báyìí tán, ó pò mí láti òkè dilẹ̀. Ó pa òṣì, ó sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ̀rọ̀ pé, èmi ni aládé igbó, ẹgbẹ́ra tí ń gbé inú ọgàn. Ó rí mi, ṣó ò mọ̀ mí ni? Ó kò gbúrò mi ni? Ìwọ ò mọ̀ pé ọmọ aráyè gbọ́dọ̀ fi ojú di mí, àti pé ọmọ ènìyàn gbọ́dọ̀ yájú sí mi. Tí kì bá ṣe àánú rẹ̀ tó ṣe mí, n bá jẹ́wọ́ fún ọ pé inú igbó Irúnmọlẹ̀ ló ti ń ṣọdẹ. Bí mo ṣe kéré tó yìí, ṣé ni mò ń ṣiṣẹ́ tẹ́lẹ̀ dàrán mi? Ẹ̀yin ọmọ ènìyàn, ó ní ìgbéraga ni. Ẹ kó owó yín dà sóde. Ẹ sọ pé ìrìn aṣọ. Ẹ máa náwó yín ní ìnákúnà nítorí àṣẹ ayé nìkan. ẹ fẹ́ táráyé lọ́rùn, ẹ ń gbìyànjú ohun tí kò ṣeé ṣe, ẹ gbàgbé pé yọ̀yọ̀ ni aráyé ń dà ní. Ẹni tí wọ́n bá bú lónìí, wọ́n lè yan olúwa ẹ̀ lọ́la. Nígbà téèyàn bá dá ọwọ́ lé nǹkan, ọmọ aráyé á máa bú. Ṣùgbọ́n tí nǹkan náà bá ti yọrí sí rere tán, ọmọ aráyé á tún máa yìn. Kò sí ẹni tí wọ́n lè bú. Wọ́n máa bú tálákà, wọ́n sì máa bú olówó. Wọ́n á máa bú bọ̀rọ̀kìnní, wọ́n á máa bú gbajúmọ̀. Ìgbà tó bá wù wọ́n pẹ̀lú, wọ́n á tún máa bú ọba. Ó máa bá ọ̀nà tiẹ̀ lọ o, èmi náà dẹ̀ máa bá ọ̀nà tèmi lọ. Ibi tọ́lọ́run rán mi, òun ni mò ń lọ. Báyìí lóun náà tún sọ tiẹ̀ tó bára ẹ̀ lọ. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìtẹ̀ wá tójú sú mi pátápátá. Níṣẹ́ làwọn irin ṣáà ń bú mi ṣáá. Nígbà tẹ́lẹ̀ lọ tán, mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbúrò àwọn ẹranko kan. Wọ́n ń bẹ́ látòrí igi dé orí igi. Nígbà tí mo sì gbójú mi sókè, mo wo ìhà ibẹ̀. Ìjímèrè àtẹ̀dùn ni. Mo bá yìnbọn sí wọn, mo pa ìjímèrè kan. Mo gbé ìjímèrè náà sínú àpò ọdẹ. Mo gbé lé orí pẹ̀lú ìbọn mi ní èjìká mi. Mo kọrí sí ibùdó nídìí ọ̀pẹ. Nígbà tí mo sì dé ọ̀hún, mo dá iná, mo sì sún. Mo mú ọ̀bẹ nínú àpò mi, mo kún. Mo ṣe àtíbàbà kékeré kan, kò ga ju orúnkún mi lọ. Mo dá iná sí abẹ́ àtíbàbà náà. Mo kó ẹran mi lé lórí. Mo fi iná mọ́. Àwọn tí kò lè kó sí orí àtíbàbà mi, tí wọ́n jẹ́ ìjàǹjẹ ẹran ni mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sun jẹ. Mo sì gbádùn wọn púpọ̀ nítorí ẹran ọlọ́ràá ni ìjímèrè jẹ́. Kò pẹ́ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ tí ilẹ̀ fi ṣú. Nígbà tó sì tó dédé agogo 6 alẹ́ ni mo tan iná ọdẹ mọ́ orí tí mò ń wá ẹran kiri. Kì í sì tí ìrìn jìnnà púpọ̀. Nígbà tí mo ti kojú ẹranko mi tí ojú rẹ̀ ń dán kólákólá níwájú mi. Nígbà tí mo yìnbọn sí, mo pa á, ó di akátá. Mo gbé wá sí ibùdó mi, mo sì kún. Mo kó pẹ̀lú ìjímèrè mi. Mo ń fi iná mọ́ wọn. Mo bá tún ṣe ọdẹ lálẹ́ ọjọ́ náà mú. Nígbà tí mo ti ṣe ìtọ́jú akátá náà tán, mo fẹ̀yìn lélẹ̀ tí mo sùn lọ. Igbe ẹ̀lúlú lówùúrọ̀ ọjọ́ kejì ló sì jí. Nígbà tí ilẹ̀ ọjọ́ kejì mọ́, èyí tí ṣe ọjọ́ kẹta tí mo ti wà nínú igbó irúnmọlẹ̀, mo jẹun, mo yó, ikùn mi sì yọ bọ̀m̀bọ̀. Mo ta ọwọ́ sí ìbọn mi, mo kì í dáadáa. Mo gbé àpò ọdẹ mi, mo so kọ́ èjìká, ó di inú igbó. Ó dùn mí pé mo ti jẹun gbàgbé àwọn oògùn tó yẹ tí ń bà mí lọ́wọ́. Mo fi púpọ̀ nínú wọn sí ìdí ọ̀pẹ náà. Àfi àwọn ọta ìbọn mi àti àdá mi ni mo mú lọ́wọ́. Wọn kò rìn jìnnà púpọ̀ nígbà tí mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí rí ẹran, ṣùgbọ́n wọn kò fi ara balẹ̀, wọ́n ń sáká ni. Ní àkókò tí má sì rí ààyè yìnbọn sí wọn ni mo gbúrò nǹkan kan tó ń bọ̀ níwájú, gbígbà pé ènìyàn 6 ń bọ̀. Àṣé ewele olójú 16 ni. Ó pẹ́ tí àwọn ọdẹ ti máa ń sọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ lójú mi. Àgbákò ni orúkọ ẹ̀ ń jẹ́. Nígbà tí mo rí, ẹ̀rù bà mí. Bí mo bá máa purọ́, ó dé fìlà irin. Ó wọ ẹ̀wù òjé, ó sì wọ ṣòkòtò péńpé kan báyìí tí a fi awọ ṣe. Láti orúnkún rẹ̀ dé ẹsẹ̀, kìkì màrìwò ọ̀pẹ ni. Láti ìdodo rẹ̀ sì dé èkìtì ìdí, kìkì òǹdè ni. Kò sí ohun tí kò pé tán sí ara àwọn òǹdè rẹ̀. Ayé ìdùn ń bẹ nínú wọn. Wọ́n máa yọ ahọ́n rẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ bí àgbákò bá ti rìn lọ. Orí rẹ̀ gùn, ó sì tóbi. Àwọn ojú 16 wọ̀nyí tó yí ìsàlẹ̀ orí náà ká. Kò sí ẹni tí ó lè wò wọ́n kí ẹ̀rù má bọ́ olúwa rẹ̀. Wọ́n á máa yí bí ọwọ́ aago ni. Irun orí rẹ̀ pọ̀, wọ́n kì í mọ́ ara. Wọ́n dúdú bí aró. Wọ́n dúdú bí àrò, wọ́n sì gùn púpọ̀. Wọ́n á máa kan ìdí rẹ̀ bí ó bá ti ń lọ. Kùmọ̀ méjì ni àgbákò mú lọ́wọ́ o. Idà 3 ní sì ń bẹ nínú àkọ̀ rẹ̀. Irun burúkú gbáà ni. Nígbà tí ó rí mi, ó fi òpópó ọ̀dọ̀ mi ṣe ọ̀nà. Ó ń bọ̀ gan-an. Nígbà tí mo sì wòye pé ó ń súnmọ́ mi, mo pe ògèdè sí i. Mo ní kí ọ̀nà gbé mi. Mo ní kí ọ̀nà gbé. Ọ̀nà sì gbé sínú igbó. Ṣùgbọ́n bí ọ̀nà ti ń gbé dé inú igbó gan-an ni ọ̀nà ń gbé mi papọ̀. Iwájú rẹ̀ ni mo sì bá ara mi. Ẹ̀rù bà mí. Mo tún ní kí ilẹ̀ gbé mi sí ojú ọ̀nà. Ilẹ̀ sì gbé mi. Ṣùgbọ́n bí mo tún ti ń dé ojú ọ̀nà tí mo wo iwájú mi, àgbákò ni mo tún rí. Lẹ́yìn náà mo tún pe ògèdè. Mo ní kí ọ̀nà gbé sínú igbó kí àwọn okùn inú igbó dé. Ọ̀nà sì gbé o. Okùn sì dé. Wọ́n bí òun ti ń dé inú igbó ni mo tún bá ara mi níwájú rẹ̀ tí okùn bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í dè mí. Nígbà tí okùn sì fún mi dẹ́ndẹ́n, mo ké mo tún ní kí okùn tú mi sílẹ̀ kí ilẹ̀ gbé mi sí ojú ọ̀nà. Nǹkan náà sì rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Bí mo sì tún ṣe dé ojú ọ̀nà tí mo wo iwájú mi, àgbákò ti dé. Lẹ́yìn èyí wá èyí o, mo múra ìjà. Èmi àtòun sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í ja ìjàkadì. A jà títí kò sí ẹni tí ó ń gbé ẹnìkan lulẹ̀ nínú wa. Òógùn bo gbogbo wa lára. Ojú mi pọ́n kankan, tí òun náà sì rẹ̀ dòdò. Ọ̀kọ̀ọ̀kan ibi tí a sì ń jà sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í dán koro. Nígbà tó pẹ́ ó rẹ̀ mí, ṣùgbọ́n kò rẹ̀ wọ̀n. Mo tú ọwọ́ mi lára rẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n òun dì mọ́ mi. Nígbà tí òun pàápàá sì rí i pé ó ti rẹ̀ mí jù, ó tú ọwọ́, ó sì ti ọwọ́ bọ inú àpò rẹ̀. Ó fa àdó kan yọ. Nígbà tí ó sì gbá ní àbàrá, àdó náà di akèrègbè ẹmu. Àgbákò jókòó, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí bu ẹmu. Ó bù fún èmi náà, a sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí mú. Nígbà tí a mú ẹmu dé ìdajì tí mo sinmi díẹ̀, ó sọ fún mi pé èyí tí mo mú tó, ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í jà, a tún bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí. Nígbà tó pẹ́ díẹ̀ tí a ti ń jà, mo tú ọwọ́ mi, mo sá sẹ́yìn díẹ̀, mo fa àdá yọ. Ibi tí òun náà sì ti ń fa àdá tirẹ̀ yọ nínú àpò, mo wá sí ibi ẹ̀yìn rẹ̀. Mo fi gbogbo agbára mi gbé àdá mi, mo ṣá mọ́ ní ìpàkọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n ṣe ni àdá mi dá sí méjì tí apá kan rẹ̀ ta lọ sí rẹ̀. Kò tilẹ̀ rán rárá. Lẹ́yìn náà ni ó yí ojú padà sí mi. Ó mú èyí tí ó dá sọnù nínú àdá mi. Ó gba apá kan tí ó kù. Nígbà tí ó sì fi ẹnu wọn kó ara wọn. A rí ojú àdá dídá mọ́ wọn. Ó dàbí tàtẹ̀yìnwá ni. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni ó tún sọ fún mi pé kí a máa bá ìjà wa. Ó ti wá rẹ̀ mí náà o. Ṣé ni mò ń mí họ̀ bí agilítì. Ṣùgbọ́n sílẹ̀, mo ń bá ìjà náà lọ. Mo tún gbé àdá mi, mo ṣá mọ́ ní ẹ̀gbẹ́. Kí n sì tó fa ọwọ́ mi sẹ́yìn, òun pàápàá ṣá mi ní ọwọ́ tí mo fi gé àdá náà. Ó gé sọnù tàdátàdá. Mo bá ìdè lọ sílẹ̀, mo ń jà poró ikú. Bí tí mo sì ń kérora yìí ni àgbákò tún mú ọwọ́ mi tí ó gé sọnù. Ó fi kọ́ kùkùté tí ó kù. Ó sì fi tọ́ sí ọwọ́. Ó fi ra ọ̀kánkán ibi tí wọ́n ti pàdé. Lọ́gán, ọwọ́ mi náà ti di ọ̀kan náà bí tàtẹ̀yìnwá. N kò sì mọ̀ pé nǹkan ti lè ṣe mí rí. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni ó wò mí tí ó sì bú sí ẹ̀rín. Ó tún wí fún mi pé kí a máa bá ìjà wa lọ. Ẹ̀rù wá bà mí wàyí pé ǹjẹ́ ikú kọ́ ló ń bọ̀ ẹ́? Mo bá ké, mo wí pé ará igbó, èrò ọ̀nà ẹ wá gbà mí o. Àìpẹ́ gbogbo nǹkan tí ń bẹ nínú igbó rúnmọlẹ̀ dé. Àwọn iwin péjọ sí apá kan, àwọn eku péjọ sí apá kan. Àwọn ẹyẹ sì péjọ sí apá kan. Ṣùgbọ́n àgbákò sọ pé òun rẹ́ nìkan nínú wọn o. Ó fà mí dìde ní ilẹ̀, a sì ń bá ìjà wa lọ. Mo bá yí òun náà yí, bí mo sì ju òun náà jù mí. Ìjà náà pọ̀. Gbogbo ewéko pa lọ́lọ́, gbogbo igbó dá kẹ́ṣẹ́kẹ́ṣẹ́. Nígbà tí ó pẹ́ díẹ̀ tí àwọn ẹran wọ̀nyí ti ń hùwà, mo rí tí ọ̀kan nínú wọn rọra tọ̀ mí wá sí ojú ìjà. Ó jọ̀wọ́ sí àgbákò kí ó fi mí sílẹ̀. Àgbákò ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Lẹ́yìn náà ó mú awé obì kan fi fún mi, mo sì jẹ. Bí mo ti jẹ awé obì yìí tán ni ẹ̀mí tuntun sọ sí inú mi. Agbára sì tọ̀ mí wá bíi ti ènìyàn 16. Mo bá pagoro sí àgbákò. Mo dì í ní ọrùn mú. Nígbà tí mo sì fún un lé ọrùn dáadáa, ó ké bí ẹran, àwọn ẹran sì pariwo. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tí mo gbìyànjú àti gbé kúrò ní ilẹ̀ kí n dá ní àdápa, wọn kò yí ẹsẹ̀ padà. Ó dúró ràngbọ̀ndàn. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni inú gbìyànjú tí òun gbé ọ̀kan nínú ẹsẹ̀ mi dé èjìká, tí òun sì ju ìpá sí ìkejì tí ó fọ́ mi ní ẹ̀yìn mọ́lẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n òun kò lè ṣe é. Mo dúró gbọ̀n. Ó kán mi ní ẹsẹ̀ kan, kò dùn mí. Ó ta mí nípàá, kò rí mi gbéṣe. Gbogbo ara rẹ̀ àti èmi ti òun lọ. Nígbà tí mo dé inú ilẹ̀ lọ́hùn, ní ilé kan ni mo bá ara mi, kò sì rí àgbákò mọ́. Títí mo fi tilẹ̀ ti ìgbẹ́ yìí dé, kò fi ojú kan àgbákò mọ́. Àti ọjọ́ tí a ń lọ sí òkè Láńgbódo ni mo tún rí. Ẹ ó máa gbọ́ nípa ẹ̀ níwájú. Ṣùgbọ́n ohun tí ojú mi rí ní ilé tí kí n tó lè jáde nínú rẹ̀ yìí, n kò ní gbàgbé láyé. Bí mo sì dé ọ̀run gan, wọn ò máa rántí rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú. ìrìnàjò àkàrà ògùn tí ń ṣe kí ni ó ti ń le sí i. Ṣé ti rí ìjà òun àti àgbákò nínú ìgbérùn mọ́ ẹ̀? Ìjà kékeré tún leléyìí o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìjà ló tún máa jà nínú ìrìnàjò ẹ̀ nínú ìgbérùn mi. A ó máa tẹ̀síwájú ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀. Ní ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀, a ó sọ bí ìrìnàjò àkàrà ògùn ṣe rí nínú ilé tó ti bá ara rẹ̀ yìí. Ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ wípé nínú ilé tó ti bá ara rẹ̀ yìí kò sí ọ̀nà fún láti jáde rárá. Ó kàn ní biribiri ni. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ kí n fi yẹn pamọ́ di ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ náà. Títí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ o, ẹ̀yin náà ti mọ orúkọ mi, Àpèkẹ́ Adé ni o. Àwọn kan mọ̀ mí sí ìrẹ́jà ìdí. Títí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ náà, ẹ má ṣe tí wọn ò ní ṣe o. Ẹ ṣe jẹ́jẹ́, jẹ́ kí omi gbó wà ní mẹ́lọmẹ́lọ. Ó dìgbà kan náà.
Thank you for joining us on News Highlight for this week. We're just picking some couple of news, and then we'll just quickly go through some. So I will take it straight right on here from UK here. And this comes under 7 things changing on 1st of January 2021. And that is from BBC. From 1st January, the free movement of people and goods and services between the UK and the EU will end. This means significant differences to how people live, work, and travel. First on the list is European travel rules change. From January, UK nationals will only be able to travel without a visa to Schengen area countries for up to 90 days. In any one-day period. This includes most EU nations and Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. In addition, you will need to have at least 6 months left on your passport, except for trips to Ireland. Secondly, you need to have travel insurance with health cover. Your current EHIC card will be valid until its expiry date and will be replaced by a new scheme in future. But the government still advises you get travel insurance with health cover. Thirdly, make sure you've checked roaming charges with your mobile provider, as the guarantee of free roaming will end. Now, number 4 comes have obtained an animal health certificate from your vets at least 90 days before you travel. If you are traveling with your pet, including from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, the current EU pet passport scheme will no longer apply. And lastly, on this one, you need to use separate lanes from EU, EEA, and Swiss citizens as at border control. So that's almost like what we have now from people coming from other parts of the world, apart from the UK or the EU, where you have to use separate lines when checking at border control. Significantly, because of the COVID pandemic, travelers from non-EU countries including the UK, will not be able to visit the EU at the moment, except for a certain number of essential reasons. Number two, when the UK was an EU member, you were allowed to bring unlimited amounts of alcohol and tobacco back from an EU country without paying any duty at the border, as long as duty had been paid in the country where you bought it and you could prove it was for your own use. So duty-free shopping will return or will remain. But from 2021, duty-free shopping will be available if you travel to EU, although there will not be limits to the amount you can bring in duty-free from the EU, as there are for arrivals from non-EU countries. The permitted amount of duty-free tobacco and alcohol will increase, however. So you will be able, for example, to bring 18 liters of still wine and 42 liters of beer. The rules change for UK citizens who want to move to the EU. If you're already living in an EU country, you will have certain protections under the withdrawal agreement. But even then, you should check the country-specific rules. You may need to register or apply for residency, get new documents, or meet specific requirements like having a job. For example, UK nationals living in France will need to obtain new residence permit. If you plan to move to the EU in 2021, we're already there, you will no longer have an automatic right to live, work, study, or retire there. You will need a visa if you are going there for any reason other than tourism. The rules will depend on the country you want to move to and the reason for your move. You should check the rules for the country that you're intended to move to. People planning to move to Ireland will largely remain unaffected. There will be a new immigration system. From January, there will be a new point-based system for foreign citizens, except Irish nationals wanting to move to the UK. The government says it treats EU and non-EU citizens equally, and we aim to attract people who can contribute to the UK economy. People who wanted to move to the UK to work, live, or study will have to apply and pay for a visa. It will cost £348 to apply for a student visa from outside the UK, or £475 to extend or switch from inside the UK. Applying for a visa as a skilled worker will cost between £610 and £1,408 per person, unless an individual has skills the country is short of. People applying for visas will also have to pay a health surcharge of £624 per person per year, unless they are healthcare workers. are into trading, this is for you, coming in at number 6. If you want to buy or sell with the EU, things get trickier. The UK and the EU have agreed there will be no taxes on each other's goods when they cross borders and no limits on the amount of things that can be traded. However, traders in England, Wales, and Scotland, for the case of Northern Ireland, please see below, we need to make custom declarations as if they were dealing with countries elsewhere in the world. This means a lot of paperwork. Some products, including plants, live animals, and some foods, will also need special licenses and certificates. Other will have to be labeled in specific ways. There will no longer be automatic recognition of professional qualifications. People will need to check each country's rules to make sure that qualifications are still recognized. And while the UK government has chosen to delay just by 6 months the imposition of full controls, the EU will be carrying out checks from 1st of January, that is 2021, which we're in. Even though trade with EU will become trickier, the UK is free to negotiate its own trade deals with other countries like the US. Brexit supporters say this will benefit the economy in the long run, although critics say it's more important to remain close to the EU. Not the least on this line, Northern Ireland becomes an exception. The UK and EU have agreed to keep an all but invisible border without checkpoints between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which remains in the EU. Northern Ireland will continue to follow many of the EU's rules, meaning that lorries can continue to drive across the border without having to be inspected. However, some new checks will be needed on certain goods arriving into Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK, that is from England, Scotland, and Wales instead. Food products such as meat, fish, and eggs will need to be checked to ensure they comply with EU standards. However, in order to reduce any potential disruptions, supermarkets will be given an initial 3-month grace period where the rules will not be enforced on the food they bring into Northern Ireland. Certain meat products will have a longer 6-month grace period. What happens after this period is unclear and will be subject of future negotiations. An agreement has also been reached to eliminate tariffs, extra charges on goods for most trade between Great Britain, that is England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland. Some new paperwork will nevertheless be required from 1st January, and businesses will need to be ready for the changes. That comes under the heading Brexit, 7 things changing on 1st January. Right, thanks for joining us for the highlights. We'll now be moving to the other segment, and that is consciousness, where we will be having Prince Olusegun Oniso. Please do stay on with us. Thank you once again for joining us right on your program. Consciousness, we will be having Prince Olusegun Oni. Prince Olusegun Oni, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good evening. Good afternoon
is it
to you,
evening?
my brother.
That is, yeah. Thank you very much, Prince Olusegun Oni.
Welcome.
Yeah. Just like we've mentioned today, we'll actually be looking at the Nigerian government's debt policy, especially when it comes to management. Some statements have been made early this year, and which we'll really be talking about. But before going into that, you've had a sort of a leap into the political scene in Nigeria some couple of years back. Could you try to compare what the political scene was around those years and what we have now? Is it the same value? Do we still have politicians who really care about the people as the people's representatives, or as things change drastically?
Thank you, my dear brother. The situation still remains the same. So long we keep having the same set of leaders who are bereft of knowledge, who have no plans for the people, the nation will continue to remain stagnant. There hasn't been any change in the type of leadership we've had. The problem with Nigeria comes from leadership. In the last 10 years, we've had the same set of people running the country. People within PDP joining APC. Those are the two big parties we have had. So what I can say really is that until Nigerians rise to change the system or change the political system entirely, bring in a new set of people, there can't be any serious change. We will still continue to have the same set of people ruling us over the years, in the years to come. So comparatively, there hasn't been any change. There hasn't been any serious change in the system and the type of people who rule Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And you did mention just now that the issue is about leadership. Some people do not agree with that. They believe that the problem is actually with the system. And the case has now become like, which comes first? Is it the mother hen or the egg? So which comes first between leadership and the system? How does this work?
Okay, what I know is that if you buy a computer system, you have a specific instruction on how to use it. If you don't follow the instruction on how to use the computer, it will break down. Like I said in one of the last sessions we had, there's nothing wrong with the presidential system. There's nothing wrong with the parliamentary system. There's nothing wrong with democracy. But it is we, the people, that a lot is wrong with us. The system will work perfectly when you follow the instructions given in the manual. Most systems have manuals. Look at UK, look at America, look at Germany, look at France. They practice democracy, and it has been working for them. But we practice democracy. We turn things upside down. We look for loopholes, get rich. We do it as if we manufacture it ourselves. And obviously, most of the things we do them haphazardly. So left to me, if you get good leaders, look at China, for example. The moment they have a good leader in place, though they practice communism, but the moment they have a good leader who wants a change for his country, that country began to make progress as from 1987. So I don't believe in the people saying it's the system that's wrong. Even if you put another system there, you put bad people as leaders, the whole thing will still become faulty. So to me, it's not the system, it's we, the people, that a lot is wrong with us.
Okay, thank you. And just still on that aspect, when we look at the way leaders, or those people that are called leaders or representatives, are the emanates from Nigerian system, we'll see quite a number of people have complained that even before you can come forward to represent a political party, you need to pay so much amount of money, or you need to have a godfather, which obviously, if you are selected to become the representative, then that means those people that pushed you there or made you to get there will have a certain level of control or some certain level of expectations from you. Do you think that Nigeria could actually break off from this type of process where we can actually have people that are willing to become representative of the people based on their love for the people? Do you think we could ever get into that process?
I think we can get there really, but what we need to do is it will not be easy. It can't be easy. You know, somebody is sitting on the golden throne and you want to remove them, you have to fight. The youth of Nigeria today have to fight, because those people will never want a change. A true change will only come when the masses are allowed, when the people are allowed to take part in the system, when the participatory system is in place, not just godfatherism. And that has been the case in the past 20 years, where political parties are owned by individuals, are formed by individuals. Parties should be formed by the people from the grassroots. Parties should be controlled from the grassroots. But the moment they are not controlled from the grassroots, where these leaders arise from, then the messenger becomes the leader. And once he becomes the leader, you can't control him. That's what is happening in Nigeria today. Most of the leaders we choose get out of control. They don't come back to give us feedback. They own the parties. They fund the parties. They raise billions. They steal billions to fund the parties, and they expect candidates to pay back the money with which they sponsor, because the majority of the candidates are poor. They come from poor background. They are graduates with no work. They are businessmen whose businesses have failed. And then you want to serve the people, and then you come out and somebody says, okay, I will fund you. I will make sure you get elected. I will remove your opposition. I will spend money, spend billions on you. But when you get to power, you have to pay me back. You owe me allegiance, not the people who have elected you. That has been the case in Nigeria the past 20 years. The majority of the parties that we have had, especially big ones, have been formed by the godfathers, the big money bags. And so young people have no say there. People who really want to serve have no say. But what we do need now is a revolution. Without a revolution, nothing can change in Nigeria, because people are already, they're in control of everything. Economy, social, political, name it, they control everything. And unless we get them off, power from them by force, because that's the next stage. There's nothing you can do in Nigeria that will work. People leave this place to go and serve in Nigeria, run back. People leave America to go and work in Nigeria, serve their people, run back, because you have to kill, you have to line up. And they make you line up. A big godfather is there who say, look, you are coming from abroad, you have to line up. No matter the policies and programs you have to keep that to yourself and abide by what they have on the ground. And what they have on the ground is outside. It's unproductive. Their programs are not productive. They can't really serve the people. They are not ready to serve the people. They want to serve themselves. So in that situation, and if you refuse, you get threatened, you get killed. A lot of people are killed. So what I'm saying in essence is that short of revolution, nothing will change in that country. We need a revolution. We need a change. We need to do away with the 1999 constitution. We need a new constitution that allows people, no matter where you are, no matter your background, to serve where you are. We need a new party system. Take, for example, the USDP one idea that we put in place some 8 years ago. That we wanted the young people to take control of the party. We were trying to support them to take control, organize themselves at the grassroots level, and the party chairman at the grassroots level, at the ward level, is the main focus. The main focus of the party That is where power should go from bottoms up, not top down. Power should go from the bottom up, not top down. The top down situation will never work and has never worked in anywhere because it's dictatorial. But a bottoms up situation where power radiates from the owners of power, you get development, you get peace, you get progress because it's from the people themselves. They sit down in their community villages, they take decisions, they choose the person who has been with them, who they can serve them. But when leaders who are nothing before have money, the resources of the nation is in their hand, they choose who they want to succeed them. They choose people who are not ready to serve, who are bereft of ideas, who have no plans, nothing for the nation, nothing for the people, just to continue their own ways. So, to me, what we need to do in that situation is have a small revolution. Not even a small revolution. Have a revolution that brings about rapid changes in political system, in economic system, in social system, and changes in our attitude and values. And that is where the problem starts from, our values to life. We want to build houses, we want to build mansions, buy jets, buy private jets, build houses on steal money to do it because we were poor before. A lot of them steal money. The money they are supposed to be to serve the people, they steal it. So that they be still as inflation. When election is coming, now start spending the money on who they want. So that is it to me. That's what we need to do. We need a new revolution. We need a change in 1999 constitution. We need a new party system in which the power comes from the grassroots.
Okay, thank you for that. Just we'll be going for a short heartbreak at 6:30, which is just about a minute away. So in just a minute, I want to ask Prince, do you think the people themselves are ready for these changes? Hello, Prince.
I think the people are ready now. Hello, I'm with you. I think the people are ready now. They've suffered enough. And I think the people are really, really ready because there's more information around. This is the era of the blog. This is the era of the internet. The internet has opened the eyes of the people to what is going on around them. What they need now is concerted efforts. Somebody to mastermind, to lead them in that direction. And that's what has happened in big nations. Someone to mastermind their efforts. I think Nigerians are ready.
Okay, thank you, Prince. We'll be back after this short ad break.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, and we're still on with Prince Olusegun Oni from the USDP, and he will be talking much to us today about Nigeria policies on debt management. Welcome back, Prince.
Yes.
You are welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm back.
Okay, great. Now, in March 17th, I mean, according to a report on the 17th of March 2020, that's, I think, within the first quarter. Yes, the first quarter of last year, the Nigerian Senate, they were actually alarmed, according to reports, that they raised alarm with the approval of the 22.7 billion US dollars foreign loan requested by the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. And as at that time that they were raising this alarm, Nigeria's debt profile has gone to, I think it's about 33 trillion naira. I mean, so as at that time they had this challenge or this issue about the borrowing policy of the Nigerian government. I mean, from March right up until today, with the report that came up early this week about the Nigerian government wanting to borrow the unclaimed dividend of Nigerian citizens and unclaimed balances in people's accounts. So on the first shootout, let me first ask, what's your impression, generally about the borrowing culture or policy of the Nigerian government?
Thank you. If you look at APC, when APC first started, we look at their plans for the nation. It was empty. There are no concrete ideas about fund generation. How do you want to improve the internally generated revenue? No taxation plans, no revenue sources were not properly identified. If you are putting various programs in places as a party, you need to identify the sources of your revenue to carry out your programs. None was in the APC manifesto. And that shows us right from the beginning that that party was going to rely on borrowing. They were going to rely on borrowing. They were not going to involve the people in income generation. No nation rises up without proper internal income generation. The internal generation revenue should be a focus first at the initial plan. That was what we did in USDP. We highlighted key areas of income for our programs. But APC did not state the sources of funding for their programs, and the programs were merely agendas, not real programs in agriculture, in health, in transport, in energy. There was none that were highlighted in their manifesto. So it was just blank. And that is why today my main impression, the moment I read their manifesto, when APC came into being, I concluded that this party was going to rely solely on borrowing. And that is not good enough. That was my impression when the government was about to be established.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's just like clear from the outset, any reasonable Nigerian should have known that this is the way we will be heading, especially with the government not actually bringing up any serious economic policy. And so before I'll come right back to the issue about debt, and I think we did mention this, but just like a recap, the NNPC head did mention some time ago that they intentionally shut down Nigerian refineries because because people were stealing the product through the pipes, racketeering sort of, and they decided now to invest in Niger Republic. Although we also have Dangote refinery going on right there in Lagos. From your own perception as a public administrator, does this make sense for the government to shut the state-owned refineries and then invest in another country's refinery? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, left to me, that doesn't make any economic sense. Because how do you shut down your source of revenue? How do you shut down main sources of revenue? Nigeria depends basically on petroleum revenue. And you are not refining internally. You are refining from outside and bringing in to sell at huge cost. And then you are trying to subsidize the cost of refining outside. That doesn't really sound economically okay to me. Why would you shut down the plants in the south and then go and build in Niger Republic at huge expenses to transport it back down south? It's not a good intention. But if we look at it very well, I think it is all political. It's for political reasons. That decision to shut down the plants in the south was just a means of controlling the south. Why leave Dangote alone to create petroleum plants in the south? Why Dangote? Now Dangote will now have total control of the petroleum resources and revenue in the south. The guy is going to become super rich and control the south. And then the north will take his own petroleum from Niger Republic. But I don't understand the affinity between Buhari and Niger Republic. It doesn't make economic sense shutting down the two plants in the south when you promised during your campaign that you are going to rebuild those two plants. You are going to reorganize them. They're going to serve Nigerians and bring cheaper petroleum products to Nigerians. And then you change over time and shut them down entirely because they were stealing from pipes. It doesn't sound all right to me. Because people are stealing, why don't use the army to control those pipes, to safeguard those pipelines, and make sure that people are not stealing from them? Now, how do you now transfer the crude oil to Niger Republic? Are you shipping them in trucks to Niger Republic to be refined there? So it doesn't sound all right. It doesn't sound economically okay for you to transport the crude oil from the south to Niger Republic for refinement and then bring them back in trucks to sell to Nigerians down south. It's not a good economic sense. So what I think Buhari is doing there is just for political control. And given Dangote more chance to flex his muscle, he will now have the only petroleum refinery factory in the south. He will be the main source of petroleum products for us down south. And I don't understand it. That's one problem with our governments. They don't seem to have economic sense or managerial sense. Why would you not be able to get economists, people who are well trained in these areas, to manage these resources for us? You put round peg in the square hole, and those institutions will not function. There are engineers, there are people who are talented. Nigerians are talented. We have them all over the world. Talented Nigerians, highly skilled Nigerians who can revive the worst of all industries. But you then go and put somebody who has primary six or somebody who is 97 years old to manage a refinery or to manage the ports. It doesn't make economic sense to me. There can't be any serious productivity in such an area. So that is what Buhari has done. Constructing roads to Niger Republic to carry our crude oil there, constructing rail to Niger Republic to carry our crude oil there, and for a refinery to be built in the desert. Because Niger Republic is a desert land. Brings in more cost to the whole project entirely. So it doesn't make serious economic sense. I think something is wrong somewhere politically between the north and the south, and that's the doing of Buhari to my mind. The man has a different agenda. That man has a different economic agenda for the country entirely, especially with the south. Nothing works for Buhari in the south. Nothing works with Buhari in the south. All is in the north. So I think it's a political decision, not an economic one.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Just for the records, as at 17th of March report, Nigeria's total debts was 22.7 billion US dollars. That's US dollars. And according to what we've got this year, and this is from the Debt Management Office, Nigeria debt currently stands at 31.98 billion US dollars. So from 22.7, just about less than a year ago, Nigeria has added, that is 22, that's almost about 9 billion. Yes, about 9 billion US dollars. And that brings us to the one we really want to talk about, which has to do with the government now wanting to clear people's dividend and unclaimed balances in the banks. I think it might be an opinion, not a legal opinion now, but I think that people who have saved money or have invested into a particular business have a right of what they want to do with their money. Whether, there will be an agreement between them and the managers or the management of those banks or business on what to do with their money. And we know clearly that when you even save money in the bank, the money doesn't just stay in the safe. The money is used for business by the bank, and in which obviously they should be paying you interest. So when the government comes up and says that, okay, people that have not claimed, in fact, I think I've got the worth of it somewhere. How much is worth? I think so a certain level of billions at the moment. that is what. But then before we come to that one, let's quickly talk about the one that the government has borrowed from the pension scheme. There have been quite a lot of issues about it, that the government borrowed from these, which I believe the government has not paid back and is mounting debt, and then wants to go for this. I mean, what can you say? What can you say about this?
Sometimes ago, some of my friends were going back to Nigeria to acquire treasury bills. And you know, treasury bills is funding for government. It's an indirect way of funding the government. And I said to them, why don't you wait till you have a proper government in place? A government that can use the people that can motivate the people to generate funds and not rely on borrowing. Because when you go and put your money in government treasury bills, you're more or less, it's like a waste, because this government doesn't have plans to pay back. And the money will depreciate over time. You don't get the real value of what you put there by the time you want to get it back. So it's the same situation now with the pensioners' money. And why would you borrow pensioners' money? These people rely and waiting for this money to continue living. They've worked 35, 40 years, and you now borrow the money and you put them into further penury, pain, and suffering. And talking about pension, why would government centralize everything in Abuja? A lot of people go to Abuja, die on the road, try to go and sort out their pension. Something that could be done online. I know in the UK, you get your pension anywhere you are in the world. It's done online. You applied within days, everything is sorted for you. But back in Nigeria, everything is centralized in Abuja, and that's where the corruption starts from. When things are centralized, some get starry highs, they see huge sums of money, they make plans that are not in the interest of the masses and steal this money. Now, how could people have worked over years, and you tamper with their pension? More or less, you kill them. You want them to die so that you can use the money for whatever you are. And Nigerian government is never satisfied. I've never seen a government that says our internal revenue has risen up over the years. We don't have to borrow. They keep borrowing from China, borrow from Japan, borrow from the IMF. If you remember in 1986, the professors told the IDB not to borrow IMF loan. And this guy borrowed IMF loan. And IMF, because he could not pay back, IMF had to introduce structural adjustment programs, which took almost all the industries that employed young people in the country. They took them away. Volkswagen of Nigeria was affected. Peugeot Automobile of Nigeria was affected. Daily Times was affected. All those companies were sold, but they were being properly managed by the people before. IBB borrowed money, or previous government borrowed money, and they could not pay. And structural adjustment program came into place. No nation that relies on debt makes progress. You keep borrowing, and you don't have plans on how you pay back. The first thing our government should have done was to put in place plans with which they would generate revenue. Whether even if they borrowed, it won't have effect on them. China, I admire China. I studied China. I see how China grew in 1987 from being a poor country into a world global power today. Into a global power, industrially, economically, China has grown. Why can't we borrow a bit from China? We were richer than China years ago. Why do we have to keep borrowing all the time? Borrow pensioners' money. Now we want to take the money the people have worked or they invested because they were not claimed. It's not a nice idea at all. That's not a good government to be. To me, any government that relies on borrowing is not a government. It's not a government at all. It has no plans, has no good plans for the people, because you are accumulating debt over 8 years period that we use there. You have a maximum of 8 years, and in those 8 years, you're taking the people's money. Can you pay them back in 8 years? Can the government pay back in 8 years? They can't pay back. There's no way they can pay back all the money. The ones they've been borrowing, the PDP borrowed has been carried over. They couldn't pay them in 8 years. So what is happening is We have people in power who have no plans. No plans initially, nothing about finance at the beginning. Why don't they sit down and say, okay, let us plan properly. How are we going to finance our programs? Where is the money coming from? Should we rely on borrowing? Why should we be borrowing when we have 200 million people who could motivate into internally generated revenue efforts? If you mobilize Nigerians, they will generate funds enough to run the country without having to borrow. We have resources in the country. The South is blessed, the North is blessed. In iron ore, bauxite, uranium, name it, all the resources in the world are in Nigeria. So why should we not utilize our God-given resources and make money instead of having to take money from this robbing Peter to pay Paul? And when they borrow the money, they share it. They share the money, the projects you don't see. No water, no electricity, nothing runs. They borrow the money and then share among themselves. So that's what it is to me. They should stop this idea of borrowing to finance, even to pay salaries, pay government worker salaries. No, and that's very sad. Really, really sad.
Okay, Prince. We'll still come right back to you after this shorter break. Viewers, please stay on with us. Yeah, welcome back. We're still with Prince Olusegun Oni. Prince, now there's a claim that late last year there was a bill that was sent to the House and it was passed. It's called the Financial Act 2020, which was signed into law. And it is claimed that this allows the government to borrow unclaimed dividends and balances in dormant accounts owned by Nigeria in any bank in the country. Now, this bill passed through the Nigerian representatives at the Senate and the House of Rep. So coming right into actually our representatives at the center, are they, because things that people are complaining for today, the presidency could say that, yes, we put the bill through the House and it was approved by your representatives. Have the reps acted in the best interest of Nigerians?
I don't think the reps acted in the best interest of Nigerians. I think the reps themselves have been over the years encouraging the government into borrowing. Why can't the reps ask the presidency, the loans that you borrowed in the past, how have you paid them? What is the country's internally generated revenue? What is our externally generated revenue? How have you paid the previous loans that we have approved for you? Now, okay, the money you are going to take from the people's investment, what are you going to do with it? I don't think key questions were asked, and I don't think that bill should have been passed. The reps have not acted in the interest of the people. If thinking of past debts that they've borrowed, the money they've borrowed in the past, which have not been paid, and now they are now encouraging the government to accumulate more debts. Who is going to pay those debts when Buhari leaves? I think the reps should have encouraged the presidency into sourcing internal revenue, not borrowing. Even within the country, they shouldn't be borrowing people's investments because they were not claimed. And now those money appears to be ownerless because they were not claimed. Are we sure that government is going to pay back? And who are you going to pay it back when they were not claimed? They were unclaimed money. It's an indirect way of stealing. To me, that's an indirect way of stealing the people's money because you are not going to pay it back because they were unclaimed investment that people made that seems to have no owners. Now, to remedy that kind of situation, I think it's a matter for the courts to decide. We can't continue to encourage our government to be borrowing money, and then look at the situation going on in Nigeria now. Should we do a republic separate from Nigeria? Should Biafra go? Who pays those debts? The money is lost, and you don't see any investment on the ground to justify the borrowing. Electricity is erratic. Water supply, there's none. You have to dig your own boreholes. Roads are terrible. So what are they investing the money on? I don't know what the federal government told the National Assembly that they were going to do with the money. Before approving it, I don't really know. But they should publicize, and there's no transparency. This matter should have been brought down. A lot of borrowings should have been referred to the people. Let the people know, go back to your constituency, discuss with your people. My government is trying to do this, our government is trying. No, the reps don't go back. They don't feed back to the people. They just take decisions. They sit down there in Abuja and take decisions on their own without going back to their constituencies to discuss. We have it in UK here. Here in UK, you see the member of parliament go back to his or her constituency to discuss with the people before taking a decision, before supporting a bill or whatever. But back in Nigeria, these people just act the way they want because they don't owe any allegiance to the people. They owe allegiance to the people, the money back, and they have to pay back the money back. And the government has to rub their palms for these bills to go through. And that's the tradition in Nigeria, which is terrible, which is very bad.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. I think the National Assembly has not done Nigerians justice in that situation. Borrowing, encouraging the federal government to borrow is not a good thing at all. They need to sit down properly and think, where are we going with this borrowing? Where are we going where we can't pay back? I know the Chinese loans they took. One day China will put a condition there, we take over your NMPC. And so what would Nigeria say? We had examples of it in other countries where China has taken over institutions in nations that cannot pay their debts in time. So what China says, we want to take power over your NMPC, we want to control your police, we'll be able to generate our money back. And for years, we lose control of our institutions and resources. But I think they are not thinking at all. The National Assembly has its own right in that situation. You can't borrow people's money without their permission. I think there should be consent in that situation. The bankers involved, the institution involved with this investment should seek the consent of the owners of this money before the government should be able to borrow it. If I'm going to borrow money from the bank will do a credit check for me.
Definitely.
And if my credit check is not reliable enough, they would give me. So I think the government, the institutions controlling the investment should go back to the owners of this money and say, okay, here is a form. The federal government wants to borrow your money at so interest over so number of years. This is how they're going to pay back. There's nothing like that. We've not heard of anything like that. And you just go to the National Assembly, take power from the National Assembly, and go to the institutions and take the people's money. And when they ask for it, you are not able to pay back. So left to me, National Assembly has not done right in that situation. They should tell the government, let the government give them guarantee. How are you going to pay back this money? The foreign ones borrow you have not paid. So how are you going to pay back? What are the revenue sources with which you are going to pay back their money? Did you get the people's permission? Did you ask for the owners' consent to take their money? And at what interest are you paying back this money when you take it? So it's not a good thing to me. It's not a good thing. It's not a good idea at all. National Assembly has not done well in that situation.
Okay, Prince, I just want to quickly note some couple of things that have been pulled out, especially by SERAP. We know SERAP is a body that fights for the rights of the people. That is Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project. That is SERAP. Yeah. Two things that SERAP has brought out, first of all, is that the government has no right to that people's money, whether it's claimed or not claimed, so far that their names and their identity are attached to it, it's an extension of their right to own property. And the government cannot just go and create a bill in order to access it without express consent from the owners of those property. And secondly, SERAP has also mentioned that the government has no moral right to take people's money when the government has not cut down the excesses of its MDAs, the jumbo salaries, the rate of money that is given to ministers, the wastages, the level of corruption that that is being reported, and which even the government have accepted that there's corruption, and those loopholes have not been blocked. So Sarah is saying that if the government, the first thing the government should do is to go and streamline its own spendings. Its officers cannot be living in such a big, luxury, and then you want to attack the ordinary people's funds. And the interesting part, and I want you to make a comment on this one as well. Senate claimed from the information available to them that the government banks, which has the fund of its officials, are actually not included in these unclaimed dividend and balances in people's accounts. So that means the politicians and other officials of the government that have their money in government banks, theirs will not be touched, even if they are unclaimed, even if it's been left there for years. Those ones will not be touched, but the one for the masses, which are mostly in commercial banks and co, that those are the ones that are targeted. So I want to take your position on, I think I've mentioned like about three. Number one, the rights of the Nigerian citizens to home property, which is covered by the Constitution.
When a government doesn't,
let's take it from there.
Okay, when a government doesn't respect fundamental human rights, a government that tramples on the rights of its people is not a government, it's a dictatorship. And Nigerian government, the present Nigerian government, has been acting as such, forcing its way to get its will done, disrespecting the social structure of the society, and not getting things, not fulfilling promises. So any government that is like that will do anything to continue its existence. Now, I support Cetra's position, because you can't just trample on the people's fundamental rights. They should have freedoms. Now, you are not taking money from the super rich billionaires who made money overnight. You are not taking money, because if I were in President Buhari's shoes, now I will make these super rich people to invest in the nation. I will make them to contribute to our programs. Electricity will be my top priority. Education will follow it, like Japan did. Education will follow it, and sales will be the top, because Nigeria is endowed. Nigerians are endowed, but you are now trampling on Nigerians' right. They have worked hard for their money, and you are not taking their consent. That is against freedom of right, their rights. It's against their rights. You can't just take people's money, and your ministers are wallowing in wealth. They are handing 30 million, 20 million per month. How do you justify that? I think the wages of the National Assembly itself, when you cut it in half, goes a long way in providing employment for more than 5,000 youths in Nigeria. Cut their salaries, reduce their salaries and their dependence on the resources of the nation. And I was listening to a program. One man was saying that they will pay their constituency bill, they will pay their staff in National Assembly. It was itemizing what they're using the billions for. Do they need the billions to run the National Assembly office when you don't even have one in your constituency?
That's it.
No, the problem stems with the government itself. Let it cut down its own expenses, focus on the needs of the people in agriculture, education, transport, and energy. Focus on 5 key areas. Spend money on those key areas, and you see the revenue earning power of the nation turn around. But what are they doing? Because they are bereft of knowledge and they don't have a proper economic sense. How do you do such a thing? You take people's labor over the years, you take pensioners' labor over the years, you take their money, you don't pay them on time, they die on the road, trying to sort their papers just to get their pension. Now you are taking people's money they work for, they invested in company, whether their names are not, whether it's claimed or unclaimed, government doesn't have the right to it. The institutions know the owners of this money. Those who did the investment know the owners of the money. They have their addresses, they have their homes, they have their contacts. I can't invest in UTC and not put my proper details there. My next of kin, should anything happen to me, they will know who to pay it to. So why would government go after people's hard-hand labor and then say you are borrowing it without their consent? It's not a good thing at all. It's morally wrong. It's seriously morally wrong.
Okay.
The government needs their consent, take their money.
Right. Thank you, Prince. Viewers, we're just going on a shorter break again. Please do stay on with us because we'll still have Prince Olusegun Loni on the program with us. Right, welcome back, and that is to the last segment of this interview. Prince, now this is where we are now, and I know that probably when the Finance Act was being discussed, and I think this is something that you've also severally raised issue about, that if something is going on in the country, there is an agency of the government that is meant to give information to the people about what is happening in order to make them aware, which that agency has not been doing. So where we are now, what is the way forward, especially when it comes to this issue of government? I know definitely organization like SERAP will take up the government, but I think the voice of the people themselves, when they become aware of this type of policies, will also give maybe a sort of an extra strength to organization like SERAP or some lawyers that might want to take the government up on it. So moving forward, what do you think the people should do?
That's a very good point. I remember years ago, I personally wrote to INEC, and I said INEC should embark on public awareness programs on economy, on agriculture, on the people's fundamental rights. INEC should not just be about election; it should enlighten the people. I know such is not done in UK, France, or Germany by their electoral bodies, but in Nigeria, we're just developing. We have not gone to that stage where people know their basic rights. If somebody will bring you bags of rice, bring you a cup of tea, bring you a tin of milk, and you vote for them and put 200 naira on top of it. But when the people are aware of their fundamental rights, they will ask questions. Why is the government doing this? They will call their representatives and say, no, mister, is this what we send you to do for us? No. If you don't follow our interest, we will not re-elect you. You will not go back there for second time. So what INEC is the duty of INEC to back on education, political education, creating awareness. What is democracy? What is government? Why are you choosing so? Why is the party representing your interests? INEC should go on that line. Now, there are a number of agencies, the press, the media, and so on, all over there, who should be representing, fighting for the people. But Nigerian journalists don't conduct investigative journalism. We need journalists who are bold enough to conduct investigative journalism into what the government is doing, into what the National Assembly is doing, how bills are passed, what laws are being made. Laws should be properly scrutinized, not just rubber stamp laws that are made in the National Assembly and are enforced by us and forced on the people. So, to my mind, we have quite a number of agencies in Nigeria who should be involved in educating the people about their fundamental rights. But they are not doing so, especially with the press. They are not doing so. They are not helping the people at all. All they do is support the government because the government bulldozes its way through. Brown envelopes are scattered all over the place, and so the things they should be doing are left undone, and the people are suffering. So left to me, apart from CETRA and other agencies, the NGOs are trying. Nigerian NGOs are really trying. duty of enlightening or creating awareness around political activities, around the economy, how to be a citizen, how to be a patriot, how to contribute to the development of your nation, what you can do to build your nation. INEC has that duty. It shouldn't be about conducting election and waiting for the big money spenders to win. And they win, nothing is done after and the whole country is back in square one. Everything that has been done so far from 2015 to date qualifies for a coup. But it has not happened because we cherish democracy, we want it. And why? Because those institutions are not functioning. The institutions that are supposed to support the politicians, to support the masses, are not functioning. They are not identifying what is wrong with government policies. They are not telling the people the truth about what the government is doing. They just sit down there. I know there are international bodies in Nigeria too that are doing their best, but majority of Nigerian institutions that are supposed to work with the people at the root, at the grassroots, are not doing so. So Tetra coming out to defend the people in this case has done a very good job. And I believe that's a very good job in the beginning. If there are bodies that are really fighting in the interest of the people who appreciate it, who like it so much, because we can't totally depend on a government that doesn't seem to know where it is going. No, we cannot depend on that. We want a government that says, okay, this is my ABCD, this is how I'm going to do it. I want the people involved. If you have queries, please forward your queries to so bodies. But we don't do that. But we will just force programs and policies on the people, and the people just fold their hands and do nothing. No, so left to me, we need more agencies around there to represent the interests of the people, because those in the National Assembly are not doing so.
Right. Thank you. At all. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Prince Olusegun Oni. Let's just, because we're obviously coming towards the end of this interview, 2023 is like the big thing now. People have been talking about it, and then we know that in the next few months and there's going to be activities towards that time. Many people also believe that Nigeria shouldn't actually be talking about 2023 now, but talking about restructuring. I mean, one of the how do I want to put it? One of the words is restructuring. Why we also have the other part, and which you've mentioned yourself, about doing away with the 1999 Constitution and really getting a constitution that actually represents the we, which is at the first page of the Constitution. So at the moment, we have that push for the 1999 Constitution to be taken out. We have people that are talking that no, it's about restructuring that we need. We have people that are talking about no, it's still the same system, but we need to change the area where the president will be coming from. And then I think mostly from the southern part of the country, we have others that are saying it's either we sort this thing out or we will move out of Nigeria and become an independent nation. So what do you see? Or what are your own opinions or views about all these different views?
I think the mistake President Jonathan made was not to have enforced the Constitutive Assembly decision of 2014 that asked for restructuring and amendments to the 1999 Constitution. You see, if I were in his shoes, that's the thing I would have done, because the people spoke out then, and the result we now see is the division within the country. When it was the regions, the West was developing at a faster rate because the regional governments have powers. They have powers. Everything was not centralized in the federal government. The Western region was moving at a very fast pace. The best university in Africa, and so on. All of those achievements were there. They enjoyed the industrial areas, big businesses all over West Nigeria, because there was regional autonomy, there was power in the West. But with the over-centralization of everything by the military and the trampling upon the fundamental rights of regions, Electricity is a federal priority. Roads, what they name it, everything concentrated in the hand of the federal. It can't work like that. So that's why the people are now agitating for freedom. They can't work in a situation where you rob people to pay Paul. Those who have the resources are less benefiting from it, and those who are in other areas and are not contributing much are enjoying. And majority of the power is concentrated up somewhere else. I don't want to mention it. So in this situation, the best thing we need to do, I'm not talking about 2023, because we have opened the Pandora's box. We have allowed agitations to start for independence in the West. And the moment Western Nigeria, every problem with Nigeria is always, some people say it's always starting from Western Nigeria. The moment agitation for freedom in the West starts, forget 2023. Because the whole Western region itself now is divided. The Yoruba land is divided among those who want freedom and those who want to support restructuring. If the restructuring as advocated by Jonathan's government in 2014 was done immediately, we wouldn't have this problem today of agitation for freedom. We will not have it. But because the North doesn't want anything to happen to the constitution that favors the North, then people's eyes are open. Like you asked the last time, are the people ready for revolution? Nigerians are now ready, especially in the western part of Nigeria. They are ready because they have seen that they are being cheated. And you can't tolerate cheating for a long period of time. When the constitution favors a particular set, the National Assembly, take the population there, is 80% North versus the South. So where does decision go? So where does decision go? Decision goes up North. So to my mind, 2023, we need to really pray for Nigeria not to really break up, because some people are already saying there will be no election in 2023 unless one, restructuring is done and regional autonomy is granted, local government autonomy is granted, so that there can be developments, there can be growth. We can't continue in this way where power is concentrated in the federal, and the federal is not reflected on the ground. People are not feeling it, especially in the West. We are going backward instead of going forward. So left to me, 2023 needs prayer. If Nigeria will still remain one, I'm torn in between the two. I love Nigeria so much. It's a land, it's a blessed country. But I can't leave my home because that's where I came from. I have to support my people's agitation. At the same time, but I love Nigeria. I want Nigeria to become one of the world powers. We have the resources, we have the manpower, we have the people, we have a lot of, name it, and Nigerians are all over the world who are willing to come back home to build. But with the government that we have, with the type of people leading us, can we get there? No, we cannot get there. Until there is a proper change, until there is a revolution, until there is a change in that constitution that is one-sided, until there is restructuring, proper restructuring, and a change in the political system, the system that we have bastardized, because the system was good, but we bastardized it. Until there is a change in that line, we are not going anywhere. China left us, Thailand left us, Singapore left us. They were behind us in the 60s. We had the best. But now see where they are. And our people are still suffering. So left to me, let's just put 2023 aside. All those aspiring to become president in 2023, they need to go back home first. They need to go back home, up north, down south, east, west. All of us need to go back home. We need to sit down together again, look at the 2014 referendum thing that was done, and sit down and say, where are we going? As a nation, if I were the president today, I would have organized such a meeting. Elders of the communities, the chiefs, the tribal chiefs, I would have called them and said, where are we going? I don't want this country to wake up. What are your demands? And in the West, those agitating for Odua, I got tired of the various group discussions. I got tired. It's like wasting of time to me. Let them go back to their houses of assemblies. If they want to do a republic, go back to the houses of assemblies, get them to sanction a referendum, just like you did for Amotepo. Once that is done, there's no power on earth that can say that's not the interest of the people. That is the interest of the people. All these group discussions are just tiring. Everybody is sitting up, creating one group or the other. It's a mere waste of time. Get to the state houses of assembly because they send the people. Let them agree to a referendum. Once referendum is agreed to, just like we have in Scotland. The people of Scotland are trying to. Once that is agreed, we'll know where we are going. But for me, 2023, we need to pray.
All right, thank you, Prince Olusegun Oni. The last bit, and we'll just sort that out once we are back from this short heartbreak. Thanks, viewers, for staying on with us. We're still with Prince Olusegun Oni. And what we'll be doing at this segment is just give you about 2 minutes to talk to the Nigerian masses. We're practicing democracy in Nigeria. And democracy, by definition, is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But if the people are not taking up their responsibilities, then it's going to be the government by the few, for the few. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to speak to the Nigerian masses.
Thank you very much. What we need in Nigeria is participatory democracy, one in which the people really participate. Everybody taking their, putting in their best efforts to build the nation. We don't want money-backed democracy. What we have at the moment is money-backed democracy, and in which people get elected, in which money-backed spend loads of funds to get people elected, and those people owing allegiance to them, not to the people, while the people who voted are suffering. We want a system where you vote because you love the program somebody has put before you, not because somebody comes around to give you 10,000 naira, 2 bags of rice, and a tin of milk to buy your conscience, and the person doesn't come back to you again, never see them anymore. We want a revolutionized system in which power lies with the people at the grassroots. Today, what we have there is not democracy. I must confess, we are not practicing democracy the way it should be. The president doesn't owe the National Assembly an allegiance. The National Assembly doesn't hold the people any allegiance. They don't go back to the grassroots to report to the people. And INEC is not even helping. INEC should be able to help conduct public awareness education in grassroots, in primary schools, in secondary schools, in universities, enlightening and creating awareness of fundamental human rights among the people. Creating new set of people. Let's start the modern day technologies, the mobile phones. A lot of people will still be living in the dark ages without the mobile phone in Nigeria. Or the mobile phones, the bloggers, the internet has further brought enlightenment to the people. People can now talk freely about their rights. And that's what USDP has been campaigning for on the internet with our people all over Nigeria. We've been talking to them. We've been asking their opinions. What do they want? We've been trying to instill in them awareness of their fundamental rights. These are your rights. The party chairman at the grassroots, at the local, at the world level, in the work of the president. If the president is rejected from his word, he has no basis. His word in his hometown, that's where his loyalty should be, and to the local government, and to the state, and to your federation. The chairman of the party at the world level, the boss of the president. But it's not so in Nigeria. The president rose from the world. He was a member of the world, and he became a member. He became elected. He became the top boss overall the whole nation. But he's forgotten the world chairman. He's forgotten his local government chairman. They don't have any say anymore, and they can't even, if they talk, they get ejected. So, in conclusion, what we need in Nigeria is participatory democracy, in which the people are deeply involved in decision making. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Prince Olusegun Oni, for joining us on the program today. And we'll be obviously reaching you again when we have need of you. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're most welcome. Right, listeners, thanks. Our viewers is both listening and viewing. Thank you for joining us. Already you know that we are on both Facebook live and of course on YouTube as well. So join us on Saturdays. Saturdays is from 3 p.m. and on Sundays, kindly join us from that's about 5:45, about 5:45 on Sundays. Do join us then. And of course, if you want to get in touch with us, obviously, our email is oymediascotland@outlook.com. And if you want to call in at any time, remember the number is 0141 391 1997. And that is if you are calling from the UK. But if you are calling from elsewhere outside of the UK, you have to add +44. So +44, then you take the 0 out, and that will be +44 141 391 1997. So I'll see you again shortly before this program ends. So please do stay on. Right, thank you very much. Until I see you again next Saturday, please do stay safe. Remember all the restrictions and the health advices that have been given by the government. Please do stay safe, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
Makamwire, yakane, so,